We're live. Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Good,
Ah.
good. I've never done a live before. This is my first time.
Oh yeah, this is fun because sometimes like last night I had the guitarist from Brett Michaels band on and he's got like a little cult following. So he has a lot, he's like a little family of he's been in the music business for like 30 years. So like and he had a solo band. And so there's like a lot of people that follow him since then. And so they were all coming in and commenting and asking questions. And it was really cool. We had like 30 people, which I was like really proud. I had like 30 people on Saturday night. I was telling the trainer at my gym, I was like, yeah, we had like 30 people. He's like, yeah, I saw a live streamer and he had like 600,000 people. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't have that many. So then I
Well, that
felt
dude's a dick. Why would you even say that?
it's just true though. It's like, that's what I've come to realize. Like, man, this game is just, it's hard. You're a
Yeah,
podcaster, you're a streamer, I don't know what you call yourself.
an
Podcaster.
entertainer. A hopeful entertainer on my best days.
Yeah. So tell me what happened. So for people who don't know, if you haven't seen you on the show before, you had your podcast. It was called West Coast Radio, right? Is that what it's called?
It's called
Yeah.
West Coast Radio.
Yeah, I loved. I mean, I didn't obviously I couldn't listen to every episode. I don't even listen to every Joe Rogan or Howard Stern, but I loved the ones I listened to were amazing. Like you were really good, and that's why I loved having you on here too. You always had interesting takes. And what happened with that? I mean, I looked and I didn't see an episode for like a year, and now maybe it's been like two or three.
Yes. So what happened was I got into this whole thing, as I've told you before. When I listened to Howard Stern for the first time, it was a magical experience. And I say magical because when I was 14 and I listened to Howard Stern, he plucked me out of my world, and I ended up in the studio with him, and I had my jaw on the floor going, this is entertainment. I mean, I was alive listening to Howard Stern. It wasn't even that good of an episode. I listened to John Cena, his interview with John Cena. He talked
What
about
year was this?
um the interview.
Yeah, what year did what year did you discover Howard Stern? Because there's definitely different eras and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this was before he became a corporate shill. I still love him. That's what he is. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? I mean, he totally. This was when he had just moved to Sirius XM. I was 14, but I think this was the golden age. So this was Artie Lang.
Oh,
You had Sal and Richard, and this was 2009. I want to say
okay.
it was when he
Yeah,
did
that's when
the.
I really started to get well. Yeah, it was about 2008 for me. I mean, they didn't even have it in Seattle, as you know, until like or you maybe didn't know, but I don't think they even got it until the 90s. It was on terrestrial for like a few years, and then they banned it, and then he went away for a couple of years. I think didn't he go away? Was there a hiatus? And then he came back on Sirius in like 2003. And that's when I got Sirius in like 2003 or 2004. But I didn't really start getting into Stern until I lost my job and I had a lot more time to listen.
Yeah.
And it was great. And with Artie, I think Artie was the king. I mean, I had Jackie, as you may not know, I had him on my show. I love Jackie too, but man, Artie Lang was like he was a rock star because he would just have these one-liners and it was awesome.
He was. And that's one of the things as I get older, my opinion on Howard Stern, before I get back to the story, it changes a lot because
Hmm.
um, he totally kind of I don't want to say encouraged, but he knew that Artie Lang had a terrible heroin addiction, but it was good for the show. That's the thing. And so he knew.
Was it? No, see, I disagree. I think he tried to help Artie. And I think by him making fun of it and bringing attention to the show, like he was trying to kind of shame him and kind of make fun of it. I think if it'd be worse if they just never brought it up and pretended like nothing had happened. I mean, they would make fun of him for sleeping on the show. And
Well, that's what I was going to say. When you're nodding off, in front of millions of people, at some point, I think there needs to be a serious intervention. And you know what, Chuck? I'm willing to bet if that was me, you might pull me aside off the air and say, listen, we got to take care of this, right?
yeah. Yeah. Do you think that he did that though? I feel like they probably did. I would hope.
I'm sure he did it off the air, but I
Okay.
think he knew what a good show was. He wanted to. Here's what Howard Stern is. He wants to show people the human condition in its purest form. And that's one of the dark corners of the human condition. So he wasn't going to step in the way and say, I have to stop this train. He's going to let the train keep moving. I'm
Hmm.
sure off the air, he was going to say, listen, you've got a serious issue. What can I do to help you? And he even did say, take as much time off as you need. But if Artie wasn't willing to do that, he was going to exploit the heroin issue to its fullest extent. That's how I interpreted it. I could be wrong.
I do remember they had this is one of the funniest memories I have of Stern is like the because I think for a while Artie was sober, and then he was back on heroin, and so they made a song to the tune of Bon Jovi's "Bad Medicine," but it went Artie is back on heroin.
Yeah,
And it's so funny. I think it's on YouTube somewhere. I've Googled it before. It's so funny. And then Artie's listening. He's like, I like this better than Bad Medicine. It was prime radio. Like when he wasn't too fucked up, he was fucking hilarious. Like he could make fun of it himself. And I think it was bad radio when he was falling asleep on the air. I think that he's way funnier when he was sober, or when he was he was with it enough to make jokes. Because when he was making wisecracks, I mean, he was really sharp.
Well, the reason I would argue that it's good radio, nobody has the courage to do that. I mean, nobody has the courage to have somebody full out strung out on heroin and do a show and laugh about it and all that stuff. I'll give you an example. I tried my hardest to do that with West Coast Radio. That was always my goal. I wanted to have, what do they call it? I'm blanking, not the Rat Pack, but the weirdos. What do they call the weirdos?
Oh, yeah. Not the Brat Pack, not the Rat Pack, the Whack Pack.
The Whack Pack.
Yeah.
I tried to do that. So if you want to find crazy people, ladies and gentlemen, look no further than Craigslist, especially today in the modern era. You'll find people who are crazy on Craigslist. So I would go everywhere and I would try to say, listen, if you want to come on a show and tell us about your life, please do that. I made it 2 people deep before somebody threatened to kill me. His name was Merlin Hellfire, and he was actually crazy, but he was smart. He saw me for what I was. I lied. I said, you'll be in front of 75,000 people every episode if you want to come on my show. At best, 74,000 less than that is what you would you'd probably get 1,000 people towards the best of West Coast radio. But so other people believed me, and I would line them up. But Merlin Hellfire did not believe me. And he said, listen, you've got one sponsor from some dental clinic out in the middle of nowhere. I don't believe you've got 75,000 people. And I said, fuck you. I thought, let me be strong. Let me be intimidating, because I don't know why. I just thought that was the appropriate response. And he blasted my phone saying, I'm going to find you. He would say stuff like, he kept saying, me and the boys, we're going to shoot you down. We've got plenty of ammo. And we've got nothing but time on our hands. And he kept going over and over again. And this is a
great story for Christmas. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it was certainly a surprise. It was certainly a surprise.
Is it scary?
Well, it scared me. Yeah. He said, you just have no idea who's out there, and you have no idea what people are willing to do. And, you can be found. I was using a Google Voice number, but I was at, I'll get into this later. I was at Phoenix Airport. I had to check it out. Everything you say about Phoenix, I had to check it out. So I was there for a couple of days. I found a lost suitcase at Starbucks. There was a phone number on it. Long story short, I helped the guy get the suitcase back. But you can find out a lot of information about somebody if you have just a little bit of information. So that's why I was afraid, So
it's hard to hide in this day and age.
Yeah. And so I was worried about that. I was living at home. I was like, my mother and father are going to get killed by Merlin Hellfire. And he was just texting me. Is that
his real name? That's a badass name, by the way.
I'm going to assume not.
Okay.
So I thought that at the time, my best defense would be to convince him I was autistic, and I didn't know any better. And I just react very emotionally to people calling me out. This is an episode of
Curb Your Enthusiasm. This is what Larry David did when he said something racist, and he goes, I just want to say I'm sorry that I'm on the spectrum. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Like,
oh, I didn't know that. This was purely an original thought on my part. Anyway, I hit this weird come to Jesus moment where it's like 2 a.m. and I'm trying to convince him that I'm autistic. And he's like, no, you're not. No, you just like messing around with crazy people. And I'm going to show you what crazy is. And I keep going back and forth. And in that moment, Chuck, was I any less crazy than him? No, I was just
crazy like a fox.
I guess so. I just thought, you've become nuts. You're trying to convince a crazy person you're autistic so that he doesn't kill you. He left me alone after a while. I apologize profusely. Anyway, so Howard Stern has
that was the end of West Coast Radio?
What?
Was that the end of West Coast Radio, or did you continue on after that?
No, I continued on. I kind of was more careful about
Okay.
messing with people on Craigslist. Also, I felt bad. There was another dude. He called himself something. He had Star in it, but he was convinced aliens were coming to get him. And one day, his caregivers picked up the phone. And that's the thing that Howard Stern just like deals with all of that. He has producers that can deal with it. But one day, his caregivers picked up the phone, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And me and my co-host Warren just had our tails between our legs, and we were like, well, Mr. Starman wanted to have an interview, and we were talking to him about his life. But can you imagine how I kind of felt like a piece of shit a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I worked in mental health for 17 years, so yeah, I mean, I understand. I kind of see in Howard's thing, like he's taking calls. Those people are calling into the radio, and then he's just taking the call, and he would talk to them, but
Yeah,
he's not really seeking them out on Craig or looking for them on Craigslist. That's a little bit of a different, and he's not lying to them and saying that he has a big audience, and people know that. So,
I know. Can you please help me
oh,
feel better? Say something to make me feel better. I was just trying to put together a good show,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
made me a little nuts.
No, I think that's good because I think that what you're doing is you're taking risks and you're learning. And that's how you learn. You're young. You're a lot younger than me. Like you have to push the boundaries and take risks or you're never going to learn. And you were just again, you're kind of emulating Howard Stern. And so, I mean, I think you learned your lesson and I don't know. I mean, I don't know what your intentions were to make a good show. I don't know the intentions were I'm going to fuck with crazy people
Yeah,
and make them
yeah.
feel bad. I don't think that was your intention, but I think by trying to make a good show, I think that yeah, you may have hurt some people. So, I mean, I'm sure I hurt people all the time. So, but I always feel bad. If you feel bad, then you know you're not a piece of shit. So,
Yeah, thank you. That does make me feel better. I didn't feel good about it. What I wanted to do was show people the human condition, some of the more extreme forms of the human condition that other
yeah,
people
it's
weren't
ballsy.
willing to
It's actually a
show.
really ballsy approach, I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And also, I would argue you're sort of being a little bit ableist if you don't have those people on the show and they want to be on the show, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to discriminate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we could take that approach. We could, yeah.
Here's what happened with West Coast Radio. So I did it for about 2.5 years, and there's this principle in wrestling. If you try to force a move, you're going to get pinned or you're going to get reversed or something like that. You can't force something over and over again. And I got in this flow of doing a show, and I was sort of, I had this going through the motions thing, and I would listen back to the shows. It wasn't holding my attention, and it wasn't making me feel like Howard Stern ever made me feel. There were flashes of that, but I love to do shows with you and my co-host Warren talking about news and current events. I love to do interviews and I love to have callers, but those were all separate episodes and putting them together, as you know, it takes so much work to try to force all of that into a 1 hour window. And I had to go back to school to get a career going. And I was like, man, I can't keep forcing this move because it's not plucking people out of their lives and putting them in the studio with me for that whole show. So I took a break. I decided to just keep doing shows, but just like try it out, try stuff out off the air. I wasn't going to record them, experiment with my co-host Warren hardcore. We've been together for not gay, not that there's anything wrong with that. We've been doing radio together for 10 years, you
Okay.
know. So we were practicing putting tapes together, and I had to kind of take a break and try some stuff out without other people listening because I just didn't feel like I was going to get to that point where I was really entertaining people. Your goal is to inform, entertain, and educate, right?
Yeah. No, totally. Exactly. Yeah. I try. I don't know that I am succeed. I mean, I think it's just hard. I think it's hard, as you know, it's hard to really to be the next Howard Stern because the world doesn't work that way anymore. Like anybody could start a podcast or a radio show, which is great, but the problem is anybody could do that. So there's so many. How do you stand out? Like, I mean, I think that's why it's good that you were ballsy and you took risks and you had people on that no other people wouldn't because maybe you catch lightning in a bottle and maybe you get your own whack pack or you get a crazy thing that goes viral. I mean, it only takes one thing to go viral, right? I mean, look at that fucking Hawk Tua girl.
Yeah.
I'm so pissed at her. I hate her because she just went viral with a stupid thing. And then she's got one of the number one podcasts. She got all this, she was getting A-list guest stars. Like, I was like, what the,
Mhm.
like, Nikki Glazer, one of those famous female comedians, she did her show. And then I think it all came crashing down a little bit with this Bitcoin meme coin scam or whatever. But I mean, still, I think she still has a ton of followers and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'm ever going to go viral. I don't know what I could do. I mean, I feel like you either got to have boobs or you got to be famous for some other reason. And I have neither of those things.
Well, here's what I've come to the conclusion of. Number one, I think if a regular person wants to make it in podcasting, it's going to be just shy of impossible to do a general show. If you want to do a general, let's talk
Sure.
about the news. That's the stuff I like to do. I'm a radio
Right.
guy,
Yeah.
and I'll do that for the rest of my life. Just it'll probably just be a hobby, which I think is underrated. To have a hobby in life is a great thing. To have something to be passionate about. But if you want to make it and you want to make money, number one, you got to spend. You got to drop some cash on advertising and promoting your product. Number two, I think you got to corner a niche, and you do that. You do that with music, and I think that's really good. I have an idea for a podcast I want to run by you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a niche I think that I could corner. Lots of old people are dying, and they will be for the next 40 years. A lot of old people are headed out, man. These baby boomers are dying off. So I'm thinking, what type of podcast could I do that involves baby boomers? There's so many of them. They've got time on their hands. What's one story that if you were dying, you'd want to leave behind? Everybody wants to be remembered. I think that's important for a lot of people, at least. You want to be remembered, and everybody's got one good story. So what do you think about this? I go to different old folks' homes, and I just let them, I let them record one good story, the one story they want to have before they kick the bucket. You know what I mean? What do you think?
So how long of a story? Like, would this be every episode is one story? The story's 5 or 10 minutes, or are you combining like several stories in one episode?
Probably one story, like you said, 5, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. But each person gets one episode, and that's the story that they want to leave behind before they die.
I think that's smart because what I would do, my only suggestion would be to make sure that you put it on YouTube. I would make sure you have video of it and put it up because video is the future. Nobody is listening to terrestrial radio. No one is listening to audio only. I mean, all the biggest podcasts have video, so I would make it on video. And with YouTube, 5 to 10 minute is kind of the sweet spot, and I think that could take off. And again, it only takes one viral thing, and then now all of a sudden you've got 5, 10, 15,000 subscribers. And now they're hanging on your what's the next one? What's the next one? I'm binging these, like I have
Yeah.
a buddy who I had on my show and he interviews, I mean, I think he maybe didn't think of this idea. I think there's one called Tales from the Street, but his is called Lost in Phoenix. And it's basically the same thing that he goes around and he interviews homeless people for like in this. So they're like, 5, 10 minute videos and maybe a little bit longer, some of them. But I mean, it's really interesting and you really learn about homeless people because it's like the story the media wants to tell is like, oh, these homeless people are they're down on their luck. They missed a bill or something. It's like, no, they're all hooked on fentanyl, like a majority of them. And so he interviews them and they tell their story and it's really sad. And he'll follow through with some of them and some of them die. And then he has to update, blah, blah, blah. Steve from, we've had on the show several times has passed away. And it's like, I mean, but you really get to, see a window into these homeless people because when you just drive by you're not really understanding the story, what's going on, but when you watch a little interview with them and they talk, I mean you can see exactly what's happening.
Yeah. You know what? I was in, Buckeye, Arizona. It's like
Oh
right
yeah.
outside of Phoenix.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm in the Seattle area. I know all about homeless, but Phoenix homeless people, that's a different beast because a lot of them they are baked. It looks like they got out of an oven. That's not, it's a hard way to live life. They are so attacked by the sun. Their skin is a leathery that I've never seen before. And a lot of it is drugs, but it's mental illness, and then drugs makes it way, way worse,
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and you see people that are just wandering in this hot sun.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. It doesn't, it looks, it's horrific. I guess that's it, but it's
Yeah.
different than Seattle. It's way different.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and think about too, like any extreme temperatures, homeless people in Phoenix, homeless people in Wisconsin or Minnesota, like how are we? I just don't know as a society. And this is something probably talk too much about. Maybe people are sick of it. I don't know, but it's like I'm not. I'm coming from a place of care. I care about people. I don't think it's humane to just let people be homeless. I don't know what the solution is. If it's put them in jail, if it's forced them to a homeless shelter, or whatever. But I just don't think it's humane to just kind of like let people set up tents and just look the other way and let garbage go all over and let them destroy their lives with usually drugs, or like you said, sometimes it could be just mental illness. I mean, I guess occasionally there's that down on their luck person that doesn't have drugs or mental illness, but I mean, it just seems like we're not doing enough. And I guess, like California spent 15 or 20 billion dollars on homeless and the problem got worse.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's spending more money. I don't know I think it's like a societal problem where we've kind of just said that it's okay. It's like socially acceptable to be homeless. I don't know. It's
Well,
weird.
this is one of the problems with the lack of investigative journalists. Media is not good news is not out there anymore. It's no longer profitable to have investigative journalists because you have to. It's more important to have clickbait. Everything's online now. You have to really catch people's eyes. You have to be sensational. Uh, we have an issue now. If you look at what some of these nonprofit directors are making, these people that run these homeless nonprofits, $200,000 a year, $175,000 a year. You look at what they spend on tents. So you and I, we go to a sporting goods store. We'll spend $150 on a tent, something like that, if we want to go camping. Um, well, they're spending $400, $1,000 per tent. There's a lot of corruption going on, and you know it's kind of a weird thing where if you're making $250,000 a year to try to eradicate homelessness, well, if you do your job right, you're not going to be making $250,000 a year anymore. You're going to be out of a job. And I think everywhere you look, there's a homeless, you know what? I don't know if I'm using this term correctly, but homeless industrial complex. There's an industry behind homelessness,
Mm.
especially on the West Coast. People are making a lot of money. And whenever you have an industry with vulnerable people where directors can make a lot of money, you are going to have a lot of corruption. And that's what we're seeing right now. There is no reason a city like Phoenix or a city like Seattle, with all the wealth that we have people living in just third world conditions. It's just Seattle right now. They're sort of playing this wire game, like the wire where they kind of isolate the homeless areas to a
Mhm.
certain different areas of the city. But the international district is disgusting, and that should be a crown jewel of Seattle, as you know. It's got so much potential, but the trash, people hunched over everywhere, businesses cannot operate. Good, hardworking people are using the restroom, right on the street. It it's a shame, but that's backed by corruption. There's a lot of people making a lot of money on that going on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's why I stopped promoting charities on my podcast. Cause I mean, one, just like everyone is hurting with inflation. And I felt bad trying to tell people to give money to charity when I'm like, I think a majority of people need to keep their money. So I was like, and
Mhm.
also it's just such a pain in the ass to do it. But that was a big piece of it too, is I thought, I don't have enough time to investigate all these charities that people are promoting. And I might be contributing in the problem. Because I mean, I learned about like the Black Lives Matter person that, she had all these $1 million houses or something. And I was like, it made me so mad. And there's so many charities like that. One thing I will go back in to what you said at the beginning, though. I'm going to disagree. When you said there's no good journalists, I think there is actually a lot of really good journalists, investigative journalists, but they are independent now. They are
Yeah.
not, and that is not even the fault of the media, because they're trying to make money, and they're trying to do a 30-minute show. So they're trying to do my cousin is a reporter for the local TV, and he does a great job. He's won tons of Emmys, but I mean, you can only do a 5-minute story. Whereas if you have a YouTube channel, you can do an hour-long story if you want. You could do 20 minutes. You could do whatever you want. And so there is a lot of amazing investigative journalists, and there are even some guys they're doing really short things, like they're sharing. And I don't know, you might not be a fan of him, but the Asian guy from Seattle, Jonathan, is it
Cho.
Cho? Yeah. I mean, the thing I like about him is that he just goes, he's in the streets and he's just showing you what's going on, and he's got his camera and he's right there. And
Mhm.
with the homeless and stuff, like, and he was trying to help some guy he's like, sir, do you need help? Like, do you need me to call somebody? Like, I mean, it's just really sad. You really see that stuff up close. And like I said, my other friend, the Lost in Phoenix channel, I mean, he does a great job. He helps people out. I mean, I've heard people have commented on the interview I did, and they've said he's a terrible person. But I mean, I met him in person. It seems like a really nice guy. I've watched several of his videos, and he'll tell you in the video, he's like, "Do you need something to eat? Like, I can take you to Burger King or whatever." So, I don't know. I mean, I think there's at least a potential for a lot of really good investigative journalists. I think that is, I mean, I know people have maybe mixed feelings on Twitter. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I think it's great that there's a lot of free press going on there. And obviously there's probably a lot of people exploiting people too and terrible things, but there's a lot of things that I've learned about and stories and things that I never would have seen if we just had the 5 channels that we have on our news sources on TV or whatever. So
Totally. No, I agree. There are a lot of good independent investigative journalists, but the problem with that is if you really want to tackle deep corruption, like big deal corruption stuff, you got to have a team and you got to have resources. And what a small team of investigative journalisms can accomplish, it might take them years or
yeah,
a
maybe,
long time.
I also think it's harder to hide things nowadays, and like a lot of things are being exposed, that these kind of games that the media used to play, and where they'd say, because they'll still trying to play the game like it's not 20, it's like it's 20 years ago, and we don't have the internet, we can't Google things, and we don't have others, people speaking, so they'll say these things, and you'll read the news and you go, oh really, is that's true? And then you kind of go to like Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and you'll see all these other stories and videos that counter, is the counter of what the media is saying. And you're like, oh, they're just full of shit. They're like totally trying to promote their product or whatever, or their view for whatever reason. Like, and you see it a lot with the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry and wars. The wars, and like you said, it'd take a huge team to get to the bottom of some of this stuff, because some of these wars that are going on, I don't know what side to be on. To me personally, I guess the older I get, the more I'm more of like a pacifist. Like, I just think we should not be at war. The last case, that's it, like the emergency, like, okay, like maybe we should do that. But most, like 9 out of 10 times, we should not be invading countries and bombing this country and bombing that country. We should not support that. For when other countries do it, like, oh, we're on this team. Like, we should just get the fuck out of that and go, you know what? You guys work it out on your own. Like, I want to be like Switzerland, where we're neutral or whatever.
I know. I mean, just too many people dying. And what really, it does feel, I don't know if you agree with this, but you watch the news media and it feels like there's an agenda being set for us to go back into war. They're trying to slowly ease us into going, all right, we got to go back to war. And I am just not cool with that, especially, I don't want to go to war with China. I love Chinese people. I really mean, because when you go to college on the West Coast, you go to school with a ton of people who are foreign exchange students from China.
Yeah.
And they love American sports. So there's always something to talk about there. They cheat like crazy, just like us on tests and everything. I'm telling you, it's just true. It's just true. And they pay so much money. This is a conspiracy I developed because I went to school with them at community college and four-year college. I think they pay so much that the teachers are told to kind of back off because they'll cheat in the open during exams. They'll talk to each other and look over on papers. But that's American. I love that. It's incredible. I have not met one foreign exchange student from China that I haven't gotten along with. Really, really enjoy them. I would be heartbroken if we went to war with Chinese people. And I'm not even joking. But I
don't
feel
want
like
to go to war with anybody. I mean, think about it. Most people, I don't care if you're from Iraq, Afghanistan, China, North Korea, if you're just an average person, you're a normal person. You're just trying to get by in this world. You're not about, it's the leaders. Those are the evil people, these people at the top, whether it's the corporations or in the government, those are the people that are, they're just manipulating the world for their own, gain and hurting people in the process. Those are the, like when people say, there's all this like free Palestine stuff. And I'm like, I don't know whose side to be on. I'll tell you whose side I'm not on is like the people in charge, the people that want to bomb each other, the citizens of Israel, the citizens of Palestine. I don't think those people, a majority of them anyways, they're not trying to kill each other. They just want to like go to work and buy food for their family. Most of them, a majority. I'm sure, you can find examples of the people that are joining the fight and arming up and getting strapped and, doing the suicide bombs or whatever. But I mean, I'm saying a majority of the people in this world are just trying to get by. But I think that there's also a lot of manipulation to get us to take a side and to be against each other. And then it's kind of like a shell game. Like we're fighting with each other. And then these people come along, the big banks or whatever, they come along and like, we're going to change a law here that like, we're going to take a little bit, like an extra 1% of your money. Yeah. And it's going to go to this like fee or whatever. Like, but you don't even notice because you're worried about, free Palestine or transgender bathrooms or whatever the thing that they're pushing on this week to argue about is. And so I don't know, that's just my theory about some of the stuff that's going on in the world. It's kind of crazy. It's a crazy world.
It is a crazy world. Well, what freaks me out and what's really concerning to me is whenever a big deal news story comes out, like, war in Israel, Ukraine, whatever it is, there's an immediate push to divide people. If you're a Republican, this is what you believe. If you're a Democrat, this is what you believe.
And it used to not be like that. Why? I don't like, they politicize everything now. Like, there's things that I thought I was like, because I've always been, not always, but I'd say for the last maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years, I've been pretty anti-pharmaceutical company. I think that there's just way too much corruption there. I mean, not obviously the pharmaceutical companies do some good things, but I've been but I always thought that was more of a left-wing thing. And I thought, well, and then so when Republicans kind of took that on and then the left wing was like for the pharmaceutical, I was like, wait, what? Like, I thought I was left wing on that stance, but I guess as a right wing thing now. What? Like, I thought we would kind of all be against that. That was something that was like, we all agreed on, like the Sackler family and stuff. Like, didn't we all agree? Like those guys are a piece of shit. And like, I thought that was kind of something that we all like. And so, yeah, you're right. They do it with everything, like healthy food and, natural food and taking pesticides out of food. Is that now a right wing thing? Like, I can't even keep track. Cause to me, I always thought that was more of a left wing, liberal, like hippie thing. But now that seems to be because RFK is right wing. Now it's like healthy food and taking pesticides out and, higher standards for pharmaceuticals. That's a right wing thing. It's very bizarre to me. I don't know.
Well, and we are being trained to be mutts, where we just listen to our owner, depending on what side you're on, and you act accordingly. RFK Jr., perfect example. He said something about Fruit Loops, which is absolutely true. He said, listen, why is it that we're not coloring our red Fruit Loops with beet powder? Why are we using red 40 that makes people aggressive and angry and messes with your balls and all that stuff? That should be a moment where people go, okay, let me think about that. Why are we not using natural dyes from fruits and vegetables to color?
Which is what every other country does, including Canada. And
every other country does that. But we've been trained to be like dogs, where if you're a Democrat, you automatically go, no, he's wrong. He's an idiot. Red dye 40 is incredible. And if you're a Republican, you're like, yeah. Why can't you just be a human being that goes, it's worth thinking about? You know what I'm saying?
40 is incredible. That is so, I don't know. Yeah, that's again, those are, and did you see the New York Times did an article about it? And they tried what was it? They tried to say that it was like, and basically it's the same thing as in Canada. I mean, except red dye number 40 and hydropethylamine and all these like chemicals. Besides that, it's the same. And it was like, are you like listening to yourselves when you read this? Like, I mean, I don't know. I think it's okay to go, I don't like Trump and I don't like Republicans and I don't like RFK, but on this issue, like, yeah, okay, maybe he does have a point. I mean, and the same thing for Republicans. You might hate Biden and Fetterman and all those guys, but there's some things where you got to go, okay, they're right on this issue. Like, because what was the thing Biden wanted to do? It was something about, the junk fees. I was like, yes, like take away those stupid junk fees. That is so fucking annoying. Like, we should all agree on getting rid of junk fees. That doesn't benefit anybody except the people that make money off of it, which is like, I don't know, the company, hotels or the airlines or whatever it is, whoever does the concert tickets. Like, there's junk fees in like every industry, I feel like. But yeah, let's get rid of those.
Yeah, or what did he say as well that I totally agree with? He wants to stop people in Congress from trading on the stock market.
Yeah, I thought that was a Republican thing too. Now that Biden is saying it. So, okay, Biden said it, Republicans said it. Why don't we fucking do it? And term limits. I think, didn't Biden say that recently too, that he wanted to have term limits? Or I feel like we'd all agree on that. I mean, nobody likes, I'll take away your Nancy Pelosi if we take away your Mitch McConnell. Can we get rid of both of those people? Like nobody is like, no, I love Pelosi's my favorite and Mitch McConnell's my no.
Yeah.
We need some youth in there because
That's
those.
why. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the youth is the people that really. I mean, it's their country. Like the people that are 70 and 80, like you're going to be dead soon. Like so, it's not
Mhm.
your country anymore. Like we need to plan for the future. And yeah. Well, we went down
Absolutely.
a rabbit hole now. We got 17 people watching. People are joining. They're not leaving, which is a good sign.
Welcome. Merry Christmas.
I haven't
Thank you for
gotten one
showing up.
comment, so maybe it's just 17 bots. I have no idea, but I'm having a good time. It's good to see. We always get into the deep stuff. I love this stuff. I feel like this is how I lose viewers, but I have fun doing it.
No, I really mean this. I'm being sincere. I hope I don't forget what I was going to say. I really mean this. When I do a show with you, I feel like I'm closer to what I originally got into this for. You know what I mean? I feel like we're going to entertain some people because you have 3 goals. I've got 1. I just want to entertain people. You know, I just want to make people feel entertained for a little while.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
Oh,
really
that's
feel that
great.
way.
I think it's entertaining to talk about. I mean, I don't know what else can we talk about that's really an entertaining subject.
Well, let me wrap up that last thing
Oh,
with this
sorry. Yes.
because I want to announce who I voted for president.
Oh,
Here's
wow.
my thing. Here's my thing. I vote the last 2 elections for the libertarian candidate. And the reason I do that, um, a lot of people say, you know, the only reason somebody votes libertarian is because they're a Republican who smokes weed. That's not true. That's
That's yeah. I used to identify as a libertarian, and then I realized they're too far. They want to just. I like having some sort of safety net for people that are like again the homeless thing, and I think libertarian stance would be like, do whatever you want. It's
yeah.
like, nah, there's certain things that we do need a say. And also with the healthcare, I think that, man, that is so out of whack. But anyway, sorry, go on. So you used to vote for libertarian.
I still do. And the reason I do is because it's a protest. I think that we need more than 2 parties. I mean, this is a clear way to divide people and just kind of force them into groupthink. Um, and yeah, I just in my own small way, I want to protest and say there needs to be more voices out there. Why are we corralled into 2 different parties? It's not a good system. And we should be beyond that at this point in our society, I think. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I would be open because voted for libertarian candidates in the past many times. And I would love to have, and even I would like to have another voice party on the left, maybe the Green Party. I mean, I'd be curious to, and I think there is some candidates of those parties that have won, not obviously the presidential, but like, Jesse Ventura was a libertarian. I think he ran as a libertarian, didn't he? And when he was the governor of
Mhm.
Minnesota, yeah,
Yep.
he's a little out there. He's kind of, he's been on Stern a lot. Have you heard
Oh,
him?
yeah.
And then they have the guy that does the imitation of him that's like fucking he sounds just like him. And one time I heard him and I was like, I thought it was Jesse Ventura. And he was saying, like, he always says crazy shit, the regular Jesse Ventura, but this guy was saying even like crazier shit. And I was like laughing so hard. And then I realized it was a fake Jesse Ventura, but it's still really funny.
The Baja. I was in the Baja. That guy, right? Will Sasso, is that who you're talking about?
I think it is Will.
Yeah,
Maybe it is
yeah,
Will Sasso. Will Sasso is great. Yeah, he was on Mad TV back in the day.
yeah. My favorite, I would say my favorite guest on Howard Stern. Uh, you know who's good actually? I don't know if that's my favorite guest. Jennifer Tilly was great. You know who Jennifer Tilly is?
I do. I was just talking to my girlfriend about her. Do you know that? So she is an actress, but did you know that she has like fuck you money because she was married to Sam Simon, who, for people who don't know, is a writer producer of The Simpsons. So she
Mhm.
got a piece of The Simpsons money. And like at the time, they probably thought, oh, okay, well, this show will be on for like 5 years. And then, no, the show's been on for like 30 years. So she is still getting money from that. And so she has like, fuck, I guess my girlfriend said she's on one of the Real Housewives shows, and that's how she's made most of her money is from The Simpsons. So I think she might be like a billionaire or something. I don't know. She's got to have a lot of fucking money though.
Did you know she's never seen an episode of The Simpsons?
I didn't know that. No,
Yeah. She's never
that is
seen an
funny.
episode.
But who cares? Because she's got the money. So
Ladies
I
like
feel like
that.
that's how it is though. I feel like the people that are the mega rich, they don't watch a lot of TV and movies and listen to podcasts, and they're out there like doing it. You're either like a creator or like a producer or like a what do you call it? Like a consumer. And I feel
Mhm.
like most of us are consumers. I mean, most of us are probably a little bit of both, but I think more of us consume than produce.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. Man, she's incredible though. Ladies like that, she is a weird combination, an unusual combination of stunningly gorgeous and
Mm.
unbelievably charismatic and
And a sexy voice.
sexy voice, everything. You'd be helpless. No, most guys they would just be helpless no matter how much they have. A lot of times you see a guy get screwed over. I don't know if your audience knows anything about Travis Hunter or what's going on there. I'd like to talk about that a little if you do. But
Is that the Heisman winner you're talking about?
yes, are you following that story?
Uh no. Wait. Oh, wait. Was it someone with his girlfriend or something?
Yes, yes.
Explain. Yeah, refresh my memory. I think I did see something about this.
Okay, so Travis Hunter, Heisman winner from University of Colorado, just an insane athlete. I mean, really, really
Plays offense
dynamic
and defense, which is very rare.
at the highest level. I mean, he is really a serious football player. He's going to go top 10 picks in this NFL draft, probably top 5. So he wins the Heisman, and then people go, he's really into his girlfriend. He's going to get married. Let's look into this a little bit. So, there's some videos that come out. He tries to kiss her after a big game. She kind of pulls her head away. She doesn't kiss him back. Um, and a few videos pop out where she just doesn't look like she's very interested. He's at a meet and greet and she gives him attitude and she says something like, "What? I'm going to sit here all day. Do you want me to go?" And then 3 years ago, they've been dating for 5 years. Videos come out of her in a rap music video and she's got her hands around a rapper's neck, all sexual and everything. Then there are videos of her at a party where some guy's got his hand on her ass. And he's totally into her, by the way. He is head over heels. Stories came out. She said on a podcast that when they first started dating, she would go to parties and he would wait in the car for hours to like wait for her to get done with her party and then he'd drive her home. So all these stories come out and he is dead set on marrying her as soon as he gets in the NFL. So people are going, why wouldn't you just stay in a relationship? Why would you get married and possibly have children with this person when there are all of these red flags? And I'd like to know what you think about that. You're about to sign a multi-million-dollar contract, generational money, not even talking about all of the Adidas money you're about to get, all the sponsorships. And then you're going to get married right there. What do you think about that? Do you think he should wait? Because you can always be in a committed relationship and not get married and sign legally binding contracts.
Yeah, she sounds like as I was binging The Sopranos. I just rewatched it for the second time, and as they would say, she sounds like a hooah, a hooah. So I mean, just like she's going to parties and then leaving him in the car. Like, yeah, I do remember something about. You had way more detail on the story than I did. Hi to my friend Rob from Straight to Video. He did the show. He's a nice guy.
All
Lives
right.
in London. But yeah, I mean, it's what Howard would say. Because
Yes.
Howard advised Paul McCartney to get a prenuptial agreement when he married that one-legged who stole all his money. And so Howard would say get a prenup. So I would say I think if you want to marry her, but I would say get a prenup because I mean, I don't know, unless maybe there's something I don't know about. Maybe this is just their relationship and she's in it for the long haul and he's okay with her going to parties and getting her neck grabbed in rap videos. I don't know, but I would just say better safe than sorry. I mean, there's so many people that have lost their, like, imagine we talk about Jennifer Tilly, like that's great for her, but imagine being Sam Simon and you're giving this piece of your life's work to this, not even your wife anymore. It's your ex-wife for years and years and years, forever. Like, I mean, that's kind of sad. And there's so many stories like that. There's so many stories, especially like rock stars. I feel like rock stars and athletes are the two worst about this. They put on the blinders and they don't, they say it's love or whatever. And then they screw up their lives. And it's really sad. And I hate to see it. I wish we could change the laws in this country so that, that it kind of, some of it looked out for men a little bit. I understand the initial thing was you can't leave women, 3 kids or whatever, and the husband just leaves and now you're on your own, lady. Like that's fucked up too. And there's a lot of stories like that as well. But yeah, I mean, that would be really sad if he marries this girl and then she screws him over because he's going to get a huge multi-million-dollar contract for sure.
Here's my question to you. Here's what I want to know.
Okay.
So you're in Travis Hunter's shoes. You're about to be the wealthiest of the wealthy. You're going to make so much money, even more money in sponsorships in your NFL deal. So you've got this girlfriend. Who knows if the public's right? You know, she could be incredible uh, outside of social media, whatever. It could just be a bad look, whatever. But
Sure.
what's the difference between saying, let's just say we're married and be in a long term committed contract or committed relationship versus signing a contract, the marriage contract? Why do people always feel so compelled to sign the paper? Why can't you just say, let's just say we're married and I commit to you for the rest of my life? That way, if something goes terribly wrong, if social media turns out to be right, then you can just leave. But why do people feel so compelled to sign the piece of paper? That's what I don't understand.
I agree with you 100% because I've been with my girlfriend for like 14 years and we're not married and we're not engaged and we're just living together and it's been great. And I've seen it. People have said like, you need to get married. You need to marry that girl. And then like, these are the people that like 2 years later, they're divorced. And I'm like, well, we're still together and you're divorced. I don't know. There's something about that contract that to me, it makes it like a business deal. And I feel like relationships shouldn't be like that. Relationships should be a choice. You should be with someone because you want to be with them. And if you don't want to be with them, then you shouldn't be with them. But this contract thing, I mean, it's weird to me. I don't really understand it. I mean, not to say they'll never get married. Maybe it will make sense to me one day, but to me right now, I'm just like, I don't really understand what the point. And then like having the wedding and spending all the money, like, I mean, you could get a big screen TV and take a trip to, to Mexico or whatever, like, or around the world to Europe or something for that money to have this big party. And then it's so embarrassing when you have this big party in front of your friends and family. And then 2 years later, you're divorcing that person.
Yeah,
And I
I
mean,
know.
it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand it. It's a society, again, it's one of those maybe things that's kind of wrong with our society that we kind of have this pressure to get married for people that feel that. I used to be really into the subject when I was young because I had a girlfriend that I did want to marry. And so I'd always, because you hear that statistic, like 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Well, that statistic is a little bit misleading because 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Yes. But it's people getting married several times. It's the same people. Like some of those marriages, like, are skewing the statistics. Cause like if one person gets married and divorced 7 times, that skews the statistic a
Mhm.
lot. So it's not like half of the people who get married get divorced. It's half of all marriages. But a lot of people will get married and divorced many, many times, and that's skewing the statistics. So there is that too. But yeah, I think with these high profile celebrities, rock stars, and athlete marriages where there's millions of dollars involved, um, I think people get blinders, and I think it's sad because I think the guys think like, oh, this person loves me, and then the women, some of them maybe a little bit of gold diggers. I mean, I think that's a real thing, or maybe it just goes south for whatever reason, and then I mean, there's like it's almost like a advantageous for the woman to get divorced because they'll get money, and then they don't have to deal with that person, or they could get married again and get more money, or I don't know how. I mean, it's a weird phenomenon. It's sad to see. I've seen so many people's lives ruined with divorce, but also I've seen people's lives ruined by they're still married and they're in a marriage and they're unhappy and they feel like they're trapped
Yes,
and they can't get out of it.
absolutely.
And it's just like, and they look at me and they're like, oh my God, your life is so great. Like you can, you don't have to like, you're not tied down and you can go, I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. I'm like, I can do whatever I want. And they're just like miserable and it's sad.
Well, your situation sounds to me like the epitome of romance. I mean, two people who are not tied to each other forcefully in any way, deciding to stick together and navigate life as a couple. You know, there is no reason why you guys can't go your separate ways, but you choose to just because that's what you want to do. There's nothing forcing you in the relationship. You're not going to lose any money if you exit the relationship. It's just pure love. And again, I'm not against marriage. I don't know why these athletes, these people who have so much to lose, why don't they just wait?
Yeah.
Give it 10 years, put some time into it. And I'll tell you this too. This really bugged me out, man. When I was 18, 19, I went to 2 different weddings. I haven't been to one since. They're not that fun. So, whatever. But there was always like in both weddings, there was at least one guy who would come up to me and go, "You're still young. You're not married yet. Enjoy it." Enjoy it for all it's worth. And I asked both dudes, I was like, why? And they just laughed. You'll see. And I didn't know what that meant. It really confused me. And I didn't want to pry. I didn't know who they were. But I still think about to this day, well, what are they talking? What they're inferring is that marriage sucks, and I've got it good now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is. I know some people. I think my siblings are uh, all three of my siblings are married, and they appear to be very happy. They have beautiful kids, and I think they have beautiful families, and I think their lives are great. So I think there is people who are, and my parents. My parents are married. Uh, God, I think we just celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary.
Mm.
The 40th or 50th. That might have been 50th. Sorry, I think it was 50th. And so I mean, yeah, there's people like that can do that happily. I think it's people are getting married for the wrong reasons. Because I used to ask people that were divorced, like, what happened? Well, like, why'd you get married? Well, parents pressured her, or like for health insurance, or like there's a lot of stories like that where people get married for these dumb reasons, like, oh, he was
Hmm.
going away in the army, and we wanted to um he use his army pay to get me health insurance, things like that. And you're like, that's not a reason. You should get married only for one reason, just head over heels, like in love with this person, like there's not a doubt in my mind. And and if you think you feel that way, like there's nothing wrong with waiting a year or two and just seeing if you still feel that way, because it could change over time. And I think that's a problem, is people getting married too young. I mean, I look, when I was like in my I was like 18, 19. I was with a girl, and I wanted to marry her. I thought she was the love of my life. And God damn, I mean, I look back at like all my ex-girlfriends, and I'm like, I just think I dodged so many bullets. In some ways I go, okay, well, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to be with this person, but also I think I dodged bullets. And so that's probably what those guys were telling you. Like they didn't dodge the bullet. They took the bullet, and they probably shouldn't have married whoever they married, because it sounds like they're not happy.
What happened with that girl that you wanted to marry? What happened, if I may ask?
Oh yeah, we broke up. So this is interesting. Eric Tappy says Ric Flair had 4 marriages before he found the one. Oh, is he still with that person? Like, yeah, I'd be interested, because that's always interesting to me when you have multiple marriages and then you actually do find one that you stick with for life. But yeah, with my girlfriend at the time, yeah, she dumped me, and
Mm.
and I was heartbroken. I mean, I wanted her back so bad, and I was single for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years after that. And then I met a girl, and then I was so happy, and then I thought she was the one. And then I think we had talked about marriage, and she was like, "I'm not ready yet. Maybe in a few years or something." And so then I started to kind of get interested in other women, and that was the end of that relationship. And so, then it just like, then it moves on and on, like from throughout life. But yeah, I mean, you just like, when you're 18, 19, like you don't know life. You need to get out there and experience
Yeah.
life. People need to either go be in the army or the Peace Corps, or just travel and just, really get out of your comfort zone, and go see the world and see what's out there to offer. Because I think when you're in your bubble, sometimes you just think like, especially like if you live in a small town or something, and you're like, oh, this is the greatest girl ever. And
Mhm.
it's like, I mean, you haven't even met all these other women. So yeah.
That always gets people when a high school couple goes to college together, and it seems like, oh, that's the cutest thing ever. No, but the second you get on campus, you go, okay, I made a mistake, because there are just so many people. There are so many people.
You
It's
see
such
all
a
that
huge
tail, and
environment.
you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, college girls got. You should come to my gym. Like it. I'm open with this. I tell my girlfriend, like, it's insane. Like I go to this gym. I'm just trying to work out. I'm not trying to meet somebody. But
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, these girls are wearing the outfits they wear, the skin tight, and they're bending over. I'm trying to do bicep curls, and there's like an ass in my face going up and down. And I mean, it's insane. So I can't imagine. Yeah, like being 18, 19 and going to college, like down the street, like at ASU or something. I mean, it's crazy. And I think that's the problem, is like, for guys, like they kind of need, and I think girls too, like they need to sow their wild oats and have experiences and experience different kinds of relationships. Like, oh, this guy is this way and this one is that way. And then you kind of know what you like. If you've only tried one, you're always going to wonder what you're missing, I think.
Absolutely. You're so right. And I want to ask one more question about that. But before I do, so I went to the ASU campus,
Yeah.
and
What'd you think?
listen, that caliber of beauty,
It's
I've never
insane,
seen
right?
anything like it.
It is insane.
And you know
It's
what's weird is I would have no problem talking to those women. I have no chance. So
yeah.
I could just
No, you don't
I
have any chance. Yeah, no. Neither one of
that
us. We'd have to
it's
get if we won the Mega Millions, maybe, but
maybe, but they've probably, you probably, I don't know, every Lamborghini that drives by some of these women probably stops and gives them their number. I mean, that is a level of beauty that I've not seen in real life before. It's absurd. It's got to
yeah.
be generations of deliberate breeding with only gorgeous,
Maybe
beautiful
it's
people.
gene manipulation, like something the Nazis did or something when they didn't Hitler want to have the perfect, like genetically perfect like these blonde hair, blue eyes, like
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
I
know
still
how to
think
do
that's
it.
what Tom Brady did. I think he did CRISPR. I'm telling you. Look at the way his face changed over 22 years. I think he altered his genes a little bit to make him less resistant to injury, to make him sharper, smarter, faster. Listen, his wife was a supermodel. That's the world of supermodels. CRISPR, little
What is
gene
CRISPR?
editing.
What is this?
CRISPR is like if you're having a child and you want to take out the gene for Alzheimer's, they'll go in and they'll
Oh,
mutate the genes. If you
they
want
have that
them,
technology now? It exists?
it exists. It's not, I don't think it's allowed anywhere. But again, when you see like supermodels for Giorgio Armani or whatever, you have two twins who are 6'6", incredible muscle genetics, chiseled jaw, just perfect in every way. You can't tell me that the multi-billion-dollar modeling industry isn't dabbling their toes in that just a little bit. And I listen. Something's up with Tom Brady. There's some dark satanic magic going on with him, and I think that's what it is. I listen. The story of Tom Brady is so much more interesting than we have any idea. But it'll take a couple decades for it to fully come out.
Okay, what is I love conspiracies. This sounds like a conspiracy. What is your conspiracy of Tom Brady? That
I
he's used
think
CRISPR and black magic to stay young and
I think he did everything he could to. First of all, he's my hero, and I have no problem with cheating. If you can get away with it, you get away with it. That's my opinion. I think he did everything he could to get an advantage. So I think he definitely probably used performance enhancing drugs to keep himself healthy. We've talked about that before. I think he dabbled into some weird stuff like CRISPR, and I know for a fact, I guarantee you this. You know how everybody says he took team friendly deals?
mhm.
So like people would say, for those who don't
He took
know,
less so that his receivers could make more, so he could get a better team around him, like Randy Moss and stuff.
yes, that's
Yeah.
not what he did. What he
Oh,
did was take less in his contract, and the rest was funneled through the TB12 company. I
oh,
promise you, that's what was going on. Definitely,
okay.
for sure.
So that
It's a
the
great
teams
book, by the
could
way.
get around the salary cap thing.
Absolutely, yeah. The
Yeah.
money was going in through the TB12 company. I promise you, that's what's going on. Not to say that the Tom Brady TB12 method doesn't work. I've got his book. It actually changed my life.
I don't
Um,
think Robert Kraft is the kind of guy who would break the law and go to a Asian massage parlor. Or wait, yeah, no, he did do that. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, you're probably right. He probably did funnel some money illegally.
So yeah, I think that's what's going on with Tom Brady. How
But
did we
that,
get on that
what that was,
subject?
I don't know. I love this is why I love just doing the live stream because I don't have any notes. I don't have any. I don't know anything. I mean, I know that I could talk to you. It's easy. We could just go down any rabbit hole. But the black magic one. Now that's interesting. I just watched this horror movie called The Inheritance, and I've seen a few movies that kind of have this theme where the rich billionaire guy made some deal with the devil or a demon or something, and then he's got to kill people to keep his wealth and stuff. Like
Mhm.
you think Tom Brady made some sort of black magic deal with a demon or something like that? I mean, there's a lot of people that think that shit is real.
Yeah. Well, it comes out. Somebody said that about Beyonce. She was like killing animals and repeating stuff over and over again and doing all. It was like her hairstylist or whatever said that she was always saying weird incantations and whatever it is. Here, I met some dude in Olympia. Okay, this is a true story. So Olympia is a funky town. You never know what you're going to see.
The
In my
capital of
opinion,
Washington State, for those
it's
who
the
don't know.
capital of Washington State, and it is filled with weirdos. It's a weird town. I think everybody should check it out at some point. But one day I was walking around, and you never know who you're going to meet. But I met this dude who said he was really short, and he was like kind of mumbling about being a magician or something like that, a magic person. And so I asked him, I was like, well, tell me about magic. Is it, is it one of those things where if you open the rabbit hole, you're going to get possessed and turn into the exorcist? What is magic? And he said, here's what I'll tell you. And I can't tell you much, but here's what I'll tell you. There are three things. It can be safe, easy, or powerful, but it can only be two out of the three. Um, and he said, that's what magic is. It's not hard to look it up if you want to find out how to do magic, but safe, easy, powerful, two out of the three.
Hmm.
And I think probably, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Something's weird about Tom Brady. Something's, it could just be he's a sociopath and he's doing it. And I pick up on that. Don't you pick up on that a little bit? He's just willing to do whatever it takes to win.
Is that really a sociopath though? I mean,
So I don't know.
I guess if he's willing to step over people. I mean, I think Aaron Hernandez was a sociopath. I think that's pretty well documented. For those who don't know, the guy literally murdered people, and then he hung himself because he. But yeah, my friend Adika says hello. He's a fun one. I wanted to do a live stream with him, but he didn't reply to my email. So Adika, the offer still stands if you want to go live before the end of the year. If he's still watching. Yeah, actually, it's funny. And thank you for wishing me Merry Christmas, Adika, because he's Jewish. So that's why I got the Hanukkah thing. I'm trying to be PC. I don't want people to get mad at me. And I've had some people unfollow me this year and say some nasty things. So I'm trying to not be I don't know. I got some bad advice. Somebody said, you need to be more controversial. And so I was like, oh, okay. So then I tried that and I was like, I don't really like being controversial. I just want to be myself. And if that's controversial, then fine. But I don't want to try to be controversial, if that makes sense.
Well, that's
do you think you were trying to be controversial when you were trying to seek out crazy people to do your show?
No, I wasn't. I wanted to show people, like I said, the human condition. That's what I wanted to do. That's what captivated me about Howard Stern. I wasn't trying to be anything other than myself.
But isn't the human condition? I mean, you sought out the worst version of the human condition. You could have sought out a beautiful side of the human condition. You could have had on people that are charity givers, that are, nuns or something that are dedicating their life to helping people. You didn't have people like that on the show. Isn't that part of the human condition too?
I had you on the show. You at the time you're doing a charity every episode.
What are you talking
about? No, listen, genuinely, I think people, that's what makes a good show. You get to see very interesting corners of humanity. And that's all I was trying to do.
So you had on a variety. You had on, you had on the Bigfoot guy, and I had him, and you were very respectful to him and everything. It wasn't like you were making fun of him. And that was a good episode.
And he was worried about that. He was.
I know you told me that.
Hesitant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy because you had him on, and then I tried to get him, and he wouldn't respond, and I just kept trying, and then eventually he did my show, and that episode blew up. People love him. His students, they loved him. So many comments on that episode. Yeah.
Did you know that was popular on Reddit too? That episode is posted on the Reddit forum, or the Bigfoot, r/Bigfoot, whatever you call that.
Really?
People love it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I wondered why, because I kept getting all these views, and I was like, I don't know how people are finding this, but yeah, it was great. And I think it was something too, because it might have been the first interview he did, because he had a health issue, like a health scare. And so then he came back and he did that episode, and all his students were commenting oh, we hope you're okay and all this. And I was like, wow, I wish I had this many people that like me,
Well, here's what I'll say. It was almost a relief that he almost died. And the reason I say that is, well, I was so worried that he didn't respond to you because I sucked. I thought that I had screwed the pooch. I had done a crappy interview, and he was going to go, you know what? I'm not doing any of these stupid podcasters anymore. So when he goes into your show and says that he coughed and ended up hemorrhaging almost to death, I was, oh, okay. So it's not me. Thank goodness it's not me.
That's like that episode scene in Seinfeld where Kramer gets picked up for murder, and then they let him go because somebody else got killed. And they're like, oh, somebody else got killed. You're innocent. Yay, the murderer struck again. And they start dancing around. That reminds me of that.
So let's get down to it. Do you think Bigfoot's real after speaking to him?
No, I don't. I mean, I think it's highly unlikely. I don't say 100% ever. Things like that, I don't say 100% no. What I think could be going on is I think probably a majority are just people seen like a bear or something or some other kind of animal, and maybe it's up on its hind legs or something like that. Because I just don't know that. I feel like there would be some sort of evidence at some point, either a body or a picture or video or something. I mean, the only way that it could be real and is it's so powerful that it knows when people are recording it with cameras or something, or it knows like how to avoid that. Or I think I pitched the idea to Dr. God, what is his name? Jeffrey
Meldrum.
Meldrum. I pitched the idea to him. Do you think that Bigfoot is interdimensional? And that's why no one can find him, because as soon as he notices someone sees him or whatever, he can go into the other dimension. So that is my only that, or then that's not my only, but that's one of my theories that why people would never find him or whatever is because he's interdimensional. Because otherwise, I think Dr. Meldrum was saying that they live in caves or something, and so that's very rare for anyone to see them, and then they'd never find the body because if they were feeling ill or sick or something, they would go to their cave, and they only come out occasionally. It's almost like a mistake or something that they would wander out of the cave, and so that's why it's very rare. But the one thing I think is it Diane Fossey? I think she believed in it, and there was all these stories from Native Americans that believe in it as well. So I don't know. It's very interesting, but I think it's highly unlikely that it's real. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I've seen an interdimensional being before. Listen, I don't think I'm nuts. I might be nuts. I don't think I am, but I've seen it and there's no dream, anything about that. If you want, I think I've told you, but if you want to hear it, I'll tell you. But I've got to give my opinion on Bigfoot first. Here's what it is, man. Growing up in the Pacific Northwest, every now and you go to your friends' houses. Every few homes you go to, the dad's going to be an outdoorsy type. Multiple generations in the Pacific Northwest, and they've hunted and fished out in the mountains. When you ask them if Bigfoot's real, they all go, "Oh, absolutely." And they all say one thing in common: that you hear whooping before you actually see or smell Bigfoot. You hear whoop, whoop, and they bang on trees. Have you driven down the 101? Have you ever gone on a road trip down the 101?
Yeah. You mean like the Pacific Coast Highway? I've gone from California, the bottom of California, all the way to Washington on the 101. It's a beautiful drive.
When you drive through some of those mountainous roads, I mean, the tree line is so dense and it goes on so far. I mean, there is so much undiscovered land out there. You couldn't take a drone over the top of those tree canopies and see down into it. It's just too thick. So I think there's plenty of room for something to be able to hide. One thing that stuck out to me too was when Dr. Meldrum spoke to the Native Americans down in where Bigfoot is sighted most, down in that sort of wherever those mountains are near Vancouver, Washington. What am I thinking of? What mountain region? Hood, right?
Hood, yeah, I think you're right. That's where he said that would be your best bet, I think, to see one.
The Native Americans, it's not even a question to them. It's just when he talks to them, they just understand the Bigfoot's a thing. They call it something different. We tend to not go in certain areas of the woods during certain times of day, certain times of the year, but it's just a knowing for them. But that whole question of, is it consciously able to stay hidden? That is what's really interesting. And I really think that what we know as reality, there's multiple layers, just like an onion. I talked to a dude, his name is Carl something, but he is one of the best paddleboarders in the world. He was one of my last interviews. Oh gosh, I can't believe I don't remember his name. Carl Kruger, something like that. But what he would tell me is he would go paddleboarding for hundreds of miles in the Arctic, Alaska waters, thousands of miles. He's one of the premier paddleboarder, long distance guys in the world. And he says that when you do, long stretches of hundreds of miles, sleeping about 4 hours a night, not having too much food in you, he would see manatees, like giant white ghostly manatees in the ocean. The way I interpret that, I think sometimes if you got a pure heart, you've got that childlike wonder, which I think you've got. I think sometimes every now and again you can slip in between the layers of the onion. And I don't know how weird you want to get, but I've seen what I would call an interdimensional being before. Have I told you that story?
I think so.
Should I tell it again?
So, or was it the ghost? Did you tell the ghost story? Is it the same story?
I call it
Like
a ghost story, but I don't think
yeah.
that's what it is. I think
Okay.
it was something that was on another layer of the onion.
Yeah. Well, my
Yeah.
dad wrote a book about this called Ultimate Reality, and it's all he believes the same thing. He said there's another reality, and you can kind of get in and out. He talks about the different ways through meditation, through drugs, and I think a big one is near death experiences where people,
Mhm.
it's all documented. I mean, he's got like 500 references on this thing. So, and I talked to someone the other day, and they said, "Nope, that's bullshit." You know, and I was like, "It's not bullshit. Like, there's
No.
500 references. There's doctors and things. I mean, there's all this research and stuff." So there is some other reality that's like for sure. We just don't know enough about it. Is it, and all these things, but that's cool that you maybe experienced that.
Yeah. Well, I do think if you have that attitude that that's all bullshit, then it is bullshit because you're not going to be open to it. I
Mhm.
think you kind of have to have a little bit of a spiritual element.
But maybe you
Um,
find out when you die. We're all gonna find out when we die, one way or the other.
yeah, that's true. I captured something on camera a few years ago or on video. I want to play this. I want to know what you think about this. I
Is
have
this
tried
the
to,
whole thing from your show? I think
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
let me
I
play
yeah,
this.
let the audience hear it.
Anybody listening, let me know. Comment if you think it's feedback. If it's not, I've heard feedback on this microphone. That's not what this sounds like. Um, but I don't know what so it was me and this dude named Chris Lorraine. He's a pretty talented musician down in Los Angeles. He's a great guy. I gotta stay in contact with him. It's hard for me to do. I always I'm sort of a loner, so it's hard for me to reach out to people. Like I should have reached out to you in Arizona, but I'm always fighting that urge to just like do my own thing, which is not good. Anyway, so it was October 30th at like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, it's October 30th. Let's just try something out. So I said, hey, spirit, if you're out here, you can't possess us because that works. If you say you can't get possessed, you can't. I said, you can't possess us, but on the count of 10, I'm going to give you a few seconds to reach out and say something into the microphone. If you want to do that, then you can. So here's what I edited out. I edited out about 5 seconds of silence and I boosted the noise just a little bit, but not too much. So that's the only thing I doctored. Besides that, this is exactly what we heard. Let me play this for you right now, live on Chuck Shoot's show. Go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1. Your 10 seconds is now. Did you hear that? What the fuck was? Go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1. Your 10 seconds is now. Did you hear that? What do you think that is?
I think it's a fucking ghost, and this is a perfect episode for Halloween, but it's Christmas, so it's a Christmas ghost. It's a yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, it could just be feedback. It could. I mean, it is just weird timing, though. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. And that ghost that I saw, just very quickly, I've told the story before on Chuck's show. I remember a few things about it. Number one, my dog saw it first. That's how I got woken up. My dog woke me up. And I remember doing that thing where, okay, let me blink and kind of reset and see if I'm still seeing it. I blinked, I still saw it. So this thing was like 5 feet tall. It was very short, and it was wearing it sort of looked like the robes that you would wear under samurai armor. And it went up to the forearms and it went up to the shins, and it was really baggy, the clothing that it wore. And I could make out cheekbones, I could make out eye sockets, I could make out hands, feet, arms, legs, but the color of this thing was like the night sky. So it wasn't like construction paper black or this type of black. It was like looking straight up at the night sky, so sort of infinite. And there was this gas coming out of it. It looked like purple with stars in it. And purple is not the best way to describe it, but I can't describe what I saw with the human language. It was just and this
So you
thing,
actually saw it
I saw it and I blinked and I was like,
for
am I
how for like
dreaming?
a
And I saw
second
it
or like
again.
oh,
No,
so
no,
it's just
no. This is like 15, 20 seconds. It was standing in the corner of my room. So my dog starts growling and snarling, and I look up and I'm seeing it. And then I start blinking and I'm going, and so as I'm looking at it, and when I looked at it and I kind of did that blink and I was still seeing it, it walked towards me. And this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The grace at which it walked. I read Twilight once, and the way they described the vampires walking in Twilight is like it's not making contact with the ground. It's sort of is smoothly walking. That's the best way I can describe it. But the way it walked was exaggerated. Like when the arms and feet moved, it was super exaggerated, almost like it was trying to mimic what it thought how a human would walk. And it walked right up to me, and then it kind of dipped its head down because I was laying down in bed. And at that point, I was like, okay, I've had enough. And I was like, why are you trying to scare me? Um, I don't like to be scared. And it didn't answer. It was looking at me. And I closed my eyes. I had had enough. I ran, I turned the light switch on, and then it was gone. And, I wouldn't describe it as fear, but my brain broke. Like I'm telling you, I saw something not from this layer of the onion. It was a different layer of the onion that we call reality. And I just started. I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack, but I've seen somebody have a panic attack before. You know how they'll like go, "Ugh," and like tears will come out. It's not crying, but like tears come out, and you sort of have this adrenaline dump.
That was a great sound.
Ugh! That's what I did. I just like my brain broke. The computer didn't work anymore, and I just
Shit.
started
How
dumping
much
tears.
weed did you smoke before this, by the way?
None. At that point, I hadn't
Oh,
started smoking. Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah. And I actually don't smoke anymore. I can't. I decided I needed to take a 6-month break. And when I tried to start up again, it was too strong. It's too strong now. I can't do it
That shit
anymore.
is crazy, yeah. Especially if you do the edibles. Yeah, it's wow. Anyway, so yeah, that's crazy. That is amazing. That's so you really think it was not you were not under stress and it was hallucination. This was a real thing that you saw that was a from the other dimension.
Yeah, I think so. And
Do you think it was friendly or was it not friendly?
I think it was friendly and curious. I think here's what I know. It was the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. That like
Hmm.
purple gas coming out of it with like it looked like almost like the universe, like stardust or something. Was kind of it was
Wow.
gaseous and coming out of it. Um, it was beautiful beyond my brain's ability to compute it because that
Did
was
it have eyes and a mouth and stuff like it was
it had
human?
it had eye sockets, but I couldn't
Yeah.
see eyes, and I could see the cheekbone
Oh,
cave in. I could see the jawline. I could sort of see an area where the mouth was, but
hmm.
it was like looking up at the night sky.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was wearing very baggy clothes, and I just remember how exaggerated the walk was. The arms, one in front of the other, really long extensions as it was gliding towards
Did you
me.
ever do any research? Was this an apartment building or a house, like where you lived? Like, was that place built on an Indian reservation, or was it? Had anyone ever died in that apartment or whatever? Like, that would be interesting to find out.
I live on a marsh where the DuPont industry used to be. DuPont used to have a huge factory, multiple factories.
Mm,
One of their largest production areas was where I live now.
yeah.
The town is still called DuPont.
Okay. I
Um,
wonder if they had any sort of mishaps in the factory or something.
well, I listen to a lot of paranormal podcasts, and the closest thing that I've ever heard, I don't know if this is what it is, but there's something called like a monk spirit where like I guess like former monks or whatever walk around and they make themselves appear. It sort of sounded like that because they talked about the baggy clothes, but
Hmm.
I don't know. In my opinion, what it is there is a thin gap between this layer and the next in our reality, and somehow that kind of merged for a second.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
So, what does that? Did that inspire you to live your life in a different way, or look into that more, or become religious in some way, or what do you think? Do you think it meant anything?
I think I feel more comfortable about dying. It's still kind of scary, but I do know there's more to this reality than what we see. I think it's definitely more in depth. So I feel more comfortable about that. I think the spirit is totally real, very real. And also it keeps that childlike wonder intact. I see that in you as well. When you have big dreams, you have to have childlike wonder. Otherwise, you'll start to live sensibly, like that song by what's that song? Logical by Supertramp.
Oh,
You
it's a good
start to
song.
become logical. You know what I mean? But it really helps to keep that childlike wonder intact. If you let the child inside die, your dreams aren't going to come true. I really believe that.
No, that's true. That reminds me of I had this actress on. She's kind of like an indie actress, and she said a similar thing about the childlike wonder and curiosity, and it sounded better coming from her because she's British and very, very beautiful. And I was like, okay, I'm on board with what you're saying here. So that's no, but you're right. I think that is. I think there's too many people that have lost that, and that again, these are those people that are like, don't get married, life is terrible. Like it's just like sad to see. Like I just want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to
Mm,
be taken care of and feeling good. And that's why I'm doing the live streams. I was like, oh well, like some people get sad during the holidays or whatever, lonely. Like, hey, come join the live stream. Come say hello. You can comment. We'll talk to you. We'll talk you through it, whatever, but, or just, if you just want to watch, that's cool too, I guess. We got like 17 people. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope I never lose that. I hope I never lose that childlike wonder and curiosity and excitement about, I always want to have
mm.
something I'm looking forward to. And I'm excited for 2025. I got some big goals ahead of me. What about you? You got plans for, I think you were talking about getting a job or something, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get a. I can't. I don't want to say too much about where I'm trying
Mm,
to get a job, but um, I lost a job from West Coast Radio, and that kind of freaked me out. That's why I'm wearing
mm,
sunglasses and a hat, and I'm trying to, I there's a radio personality. I didn't listen to him, but I was doing a job interview once with this guy named Jason Rantz. He's a right
oh,
wing radio
yeah, the
personality.
Seattle guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Seattle guy, very iconic eyebrows. But he told me, he said, "Listen, if you ever want to do something on the air, you have to change your name, and if you don't, it's gonna create a lot of obstacles for you." And that happened. There was this job at an
Mm,
accounting firm, Clark Newber. I'll name them, an accounting firm, Clark Newber in Bellevue.
mm,
And first of all, it's a disgusting job application process. They make you do 4 one-hour interviews. You know what type of hell that is? To try to come up with different answers 4 different times for 1 hour each, people
mm.
pestering you with questions, that type of stress. So, the HR lady, the 3rd interview, she says to me, "Hey, are you doing podcasts still?" And I said, "No." She had already found the podcast. I didn't know that.
Oh,
She
shit.
baited me and she said, this is the child inside her is dead." Uh, she
Okay.
says to me, she goes, "Here at Clark Newber, our employees represent not just themselves, but the company as well. And so anything you might say on a podcast," exactly,
Fuck, I hate that
exactly.
kind of shit.
Anything you say on a podcast could reflect us, and that might be an issue. So I just want to ask, do you do anything as far as you saying anything on a podcast? And I said, "Oh, no, 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 no." Sometimes I produce other people's podcasts, but I never go on the air. At the time, I had Simplecast, which is a great podcast recording hosting website, and they tell you where your listeners are. So
Mm,
as I'm doing these 4 hours worth of interviews, I know that one person's from Richland, Washington, one person's in Bellingham, and a couple people are from Redmond and Bellevue. What happens the very next day? I see my podcast listeners, Richland, Washington, Bellevue, Redmond, and Bellingham. And then that same day, I get an email saying, "Thank you for your time, but we're going to go forward with another candidate." So I really had to reevaluate. I had to make sure I changed my name. I couldn't use the same name after that. And then I went to grad school, which was interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on graduate school. I went to graduate school, got my master's, and now I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do good work, work that gives back. That's what I want to do. I can't say too much. I'm so paranoid. I don't
mm.
want to mess up any more opportunities for me. Um, so yeah, that's what I've been up to. My
Wait, can
goals.
you say what your graduate degree was in? What
Yeah, I
field?
went to Washington State University because Chuck
Awesome.
just loves Washington State so much. I said, that seems like a school I want to go to. So
Yes.
I went to Wazoo and I got my master's in strategic communication.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing about grad school. I want to say this: anybody who's interested, it was $18,000. That's not too crazy. Some of them get up into the hundreds. It's a manageable amount. So if your
Yeah.
dream is to go to graduate school, you can make that work.
Mhm.
The loans aren't too bad, but uh, when I was in kindergarten, there were dumb people, there were average people. I'd include myself in that group, and there were very smart people. Middle school, same thing. High school, same thing. Community college, undergrad, that never changes. So I was super intimidated. I thought everybody was going to be a genius and I was going to be way behind. But in graduate school, there were dumb people, there were average people like me, and very smart people. So if you have a goal of getting your graduate degree, don't feel like you're going to be, your head's going to be underwater. You can totally do it. I will say though, they give you so much work to do at such a fast pace. It's hard to really absorb and learn to the fullest extent because you can probably attest to this. You're just working so hard the whole time. It's hard to fully learn because you're trying to get stuff in so quickly and you're trying to read the materials, like 300 pages a week of reading. Um, I don't think necessarily grad school is always very conducive to learning, but it does teach you how to manage heavy workloads, I'd say.
That's actually a very good insight. I would agree with that because I felt like I did not learn very much about psychology and counseling in my grad school. That's what I was grad school for, was a master's in counseling. I felt like you're right though. You learn how to do deadlines and write papers and the heavy workload and read through this and how to manage your time. You learn that. And those are good skills to have, especially when you're young. But I learned so much more about psychology and the human condition, as you call it, and just people in general, just by life experience, I would say. And also even more so listening to audible books and podcasts of things that I was interested in. And like I followed this guy, Rob Dial, in his podcast called The Mindset Mentor. And it's very just short, like 15-20 minute episodes. And he'll just take it on a topic about, like, why am I depressed in the holidays or something like that? And he'll talk about it for 20 minutes. Really powerful stuff. I learned more from him about psychology and counseling and the human condition than I did in my master's degree. And
Mhm.
I've told him this before too. And I think he's really great. And there's a lot of other things too. Like, I mean, just people on Instagram and, I think Tony Robbins is kind of the beginner's place to start with, like, self-development and stuff. And then I would say like the Mindset Mentor, like that's one. And then you can go into these other guys who are just like Andy Frisella that are like, it gets to a crazy level. Like, I mean, you could really push yourself. And to me, I feel like that's how I learned a lot about myself and how to do things and how to be happy and all those things, because I feel like they don't really teach you that in life or in school or even in counseling. That was part of the reason I went into counseling, was to learn how to, like, manage emotions and all these things. And there's a lot of things they just don't really tell you about that. A lot of it is almost like common sense. Like Andy Frisella, preaches about discipline and things and just doing things that you don't want to do, even if you don't feel like it. It will help you get ahead and pushing yourself. And those are things that I wish I would have learned. I mean, I guess in some ways I did kind of learn how to do it, but I didn't really learn that, like, the angle of it, explaining it in that way. It just makes more like those kinds of people are really inspiring to me. And so that's what I try to do partly with my show, is inspire people in that regard. And so, yeah, I think graduate school, to me, it's a lot of busy work and it's a lot of bullshit. And I think that's a lot of, I would say like 80 to 90% of jobs in this country are busy work and bullshit. So I guess it prepares you for that, but I can't do that. I can't have a regular job like that and just I'll be miserable. So, I mean, I could do things like that are kind of mindless. Like I did Uber for a couple of years, and it was kind of interesting to me because I got to meet different people and talk to people from all over the world come to Phoenix. And so it was really interesting. And you pick up some of the richest people. You pick up people who are on food stamps that are going to the grocery store to get groceries. And you pick up some of the oldest people that are going to retirement homes. You pick up kids. You pick up ASU girls going to a party. That was fun. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So I think I learned more from those kinds of experiences than I did in graduate school. Graduate school is a really stressful time in my life, and I would like to forget it. But that was my experience personally.
It is so stressful. And you know what's kind of strange? And you can't live your life from accomplishments. That's one thing the graduate school taught me. The marathons taught me that too. But you dedicate so much of your life to trying to accomplish the goal of getting that
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
And you were so
3 years
stressed
for
out
me.
about it.
Was it 1 year for you? Is that it?
I did 1 year. It was supposed to be 2 years. I doubled up on some classes so I could get done as quick as I had nothing left in the tank. I knew I had a year of school left in me. I did as much as I can. I doubled up on some classes so I could
Wow.
just get done. Um,
Smart.
but you dedicate so much of your life to accomplishing a grand goal, and then it's done, and you don't get there's no, like, Washington State doesn't send you "You're so incredible, you did it. This is unbelievable. Here's your degree. Oh my God." It's just your transcript now says graduate. That's it. You turn everything in and it's just
Yeah.
quiet, and you're sitting there going, Okay. Okay.
I
Uh,
I
that's
I
it.
think that is the problem with a lot of things in life. And I going back to the marriage thing, I think sometimes people think like, oh, I'm gonna get married and that's gonna solve all my problems, gonna be happy. And it's like, and they get married and they're like, oh, well, wait, like this is it? Like there's not. And another good example, I don't know if you know the director writer Tom Shadak. I might be saying that wrong. Shadyac, I don't know. But anyways, he's the guy that made like the first Ace Ventura movie, maybe the second Ace Ventura movie too. I think he co-wrote The Nutty Professor, like some big movies, right? The guy made it, right? And then so he bought this like $1 million mansion or whatever, and he goes into it, and then he's like, and then he realizes like, oh, this is it. This like there's this feeling of like kind of emptiness. Like he made it, and it wasn't like this amazing feeling. Like okay, I'm happy now. He's like he was still just kind of like there was like an emptiness. Like it didn't really fulfill everything. So I think that's the problem with a lot, not just grad school, but I think marriage, uh, winning the lottery or getting $1 million, achieving something amazing, winning an Oscar. Like for a lot of people, I think they have this thing in their mind, like if they do this goal, then everything's going to magically be better. And it's a lot of times it isn't. You're still dealing with the same issues. So you got to deal with those issues before. And then of course, yeah, it's nice to have things accomplished, get a graduate school, get married, get the great job. All those things are nice. Have a kid, but I don't think those things magically fix everything.
You can't live your life for grand accomplishments. You have to live your
Yeah.
life for passion and love and just appreciation of the journey. I
And
got terribly
experiences. Yeah.
and
Appreciation
experiences.
of the journey. That's great. Gratitude, I think, is huge.
I got so depressed after my first marathon because idiot Matthew thought, I'm going to do this marathon and I'm going to do something that not a lot of people have done, something really hard. And that accomplishment, that title is going to make me happy. And I ran the marathon and there was a moment of, oh my God, this is awesome. And that was it. And then your life starts back up again and
Yep.
it doesn't really matter. And then I look back on it and I go, when I was training for this marathon, somebody tried to kidnap me. I saw a dead person. I saw a home invasion. I saw a weird underground bar um, that opens up every now. I only saw it open up every now and again. And that's what it's all about. Those experiences, those journeys, that's what makes life worth living. If you just live your life from accomplishment to accomplishment, that's not living and it's not going to make you happy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, that's perfect. I think that's the perfect place to end. I think you summed it up. Like, what else can we say after that? I mean,
Well, we got
that's
to talk about Luigi. I do think that's a good
oh,
place to end.
okay. We could talk about Luigi too. We could yeah, sure we could talk about Luigi. What do you want to
And
say
then, I,
about Luigi?
and then I'll let you go. But how am I doing? Am I doing okay? It's been a while.
You're doing phenomenal. This is like that's why I had you back on. I love talking to you. This is great. This is gold. This
Okay.
is I mean, I don't know about all the views and the comments and all that. Like, but I'm enjoying it. I don't care. This is why I did these live streams. I didn't do it to get clicks or whatever. I did it for my own enjoyment. And like I said, hopefully if there was somebody that was out there that was maybe feeling lonely, like, hey, you can come join our party and anybody's welcome. I don't block anybody unless you're just going to be a troll asshole. So
Yeah.
yes, you're
Yeah.
doing great. But
Thank you
anyways,
so much.
Luigi Mangione, is that what we're
All
talking
right.
about? Yep.
Yeah. Real quick. I'd like to do this with you again. If you ever want to do this with me again, let me know. And if you want to do Bet Some, Get Some, I have a podcast called Bet Some, Get Some. Because you've got to bet some if you want to get some in the sports gambling world. I'd like to do the NFL playoffs with you. So if you want to do that, you want to hop
Sure.
on.
I'm down anytime. I didn't know that was still active. I know you have the Twitter, but are you still posting the episodes?
Yeah, I got a podcast, Bet Some, Get Some podcast.
It's still going. Okay. I didn't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yes. Because, well, the people's got to get some. The people have
All
got
right.
to get some, and
I
I help
gotta
them
get
bet
some.
some.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Luigi, here, I want to get your take on this. I know you have to go. But my take on this is that thought experiment where you have this lever and a train is heading towards a bunch of people, but you can actively push the lever and you can divert the train to just hitting and killing one person. I think it's like a psychopath test or something, but you've heard of that thought experiment, right?
I believe so. Yeah. That sounds familiar.
I feel as if that's what Luigi was trying to do. These companies are not nice. These companies have AI algorithms that do some really evil things. NPR did a really interesting podcast about, kids with cancer. And sometimes these health insurance algorithms will go, okay, this kid's got a 15% chance of living. we're only going to give them 25 chemo sessions and that's it, because other than that, it's not worth it. This person's going to die. They don't see that it's a child with a family that loves them. So these are not nice companies. Now, I think Luigi, what he did, not saying it's right or wrong, of course not, but I think he thought he was pulling the lever, and instead of the train hitting a lot of people, because the crooked health insurance system, it either kills or really damages the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in America. I think he thought he was diverting the train to one singular person. And I think that if he were what he did, I think he thought he was starting a national conversation, which did happen. It's on the news everywhere now. And uh, I feel as if that's what he was trying to do. And then the second part is, and I don't know what your opinions are on this. You look at school shooters. School shooters are people who've been ignored, put down by their peers, and they go, you know what? Not only am I going to shoot up a school and get back at all the people that put me down, but I'm going to be famous. Whether people love me or hate me, I'm going to be on every news show and I'm going to be remembered for something. What I fear might happen now is people who are willing to do the school shooting thing, people who have been rejected by society, who have been told they're a loser, this, that, and the other thing. I think they're going to maybe switch to vigilantism where they go, let me kill this high profile person who everybody thinks is corrupt, and I'm going to die a martyr. Being a vigilante and a vigilante culture, I think can get really out of hand very quickly. Not everybody's going to do it right. You know what I mean? Most people aren't Batman. So I think we're going to enter a really strange and unpredictable future with what Luigi did. I think he opened a can of worms that is going to get very wild, very wild.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here's my thing is like, I thought about this a lot, and I hate to talk about this on Christmas because I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting, fascinating topic, but I hate to bring people down with it or whatever, because it's kind of a sad thing. But first of all, as I said earlier, like I hate corruption, so I don't care. It's weird when people say, "Well, this corruption is Republican and this corruption is Democrat," and I just don't like corruption. And I think the insurance companies are fucking evil. And I've yelled. I've had screaming matches, or I was screaming and the lady was just taking it. But I think was it God, who's my? It wasn't State Farm. I think I've State Farm now. I think it was Allstate. It was Allstate. Because I don't know if you remember the story or if you knew about the story. My airbags went off in my car, and the car company said, well, it's an insurance thing. Insurance said, no, it's car company. Neither one of them would fucking pay. And it was like 13 grand. I'm like, guys, I don't have 13 fucking grand to fix my fucking car. Somebody needs to fix the fucking car. Well, Allstate was like, oh, we can't go look at it because of COVID, or you might get COVID. I was like, the car is outside in a parking lot. Okay. You're not going to get COVID going to look at the fucking car. Like, well, sorry, we can't do it. So I drove over there in like 118-degree heat, crawled underneath my fucking car, took a picture and sent it to the insurance company and said, here, this is what fucking happened. It broke. That's why the GMC won't pay for it. And then finally they fucking paid for it. But I mean, I just thought if I had $1 billion or whatever, like I would somehow punish Allstate because I think they're an evil company. I mean, and I'm yelling, I'm aggressive. I mean, imagine like an old lady that just goes, oh, okay, you won't pay for it? Well, I guess I'll have to just eat $13,000. I mean, it's just like evil for them to not, like the whole thing is like, oh, you're in good hands with Allstate. Well, no, you're not in good hands. Like they're trying to fuck you. And I think that's every insurance company. And I saw a diagram, or what do you call it, like a meme or something. It said, I don't know if it's accurate, I didn't fact check it, but it sounds about right that, United Healthcare denied the most claims of any health insurance company. It was like 32% of claims were denied. How is that fucking legal?
Yeah.
Now, that is where the CEO, I mean, I heard this story, is a nice guy. He came from nothing and he was raised up to be the CEO. And supposedly some people said he was a nice guy. I don't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy, but here's what I know. If you're the CEO, what is your job as a CEO? Your job is to make money. Okay. You're going to try to cut corners. And it's like, I was telling my girlfriend the other day, like, we like to get Panda Express. I know it's probably not the greatest choice. And maybe I'm hypocritical because I'm all about, clean food and RFK, what he's doing with clean food, and Panda Express is shit. Okay. It's shitty food, but it's fucking good. It's delicious. And but Pan Express, they used to get these cream cheese rangoons, and they would give you this little ramekin of sweet and sour sauce. Well, then they started switching from the ramekin to these little packets. And it just pissed me off. I was like, okay, now I got to open up fucking like 8 packets of sweet and sour instead of just opening the lid to my ramekin. And there was some fucking CEO or some guy in a boardroom that's like, hey, if we take the ramekin away and we give them a packet, we might save 2 cents on every sweet and sour sauce that we give to somebody. Now you add up that 2 cents over time. This is gonna, and they're like, Johnson, you're a genius. You just saved this company $30,000. Like,
Yeah.
it's like some of these dumb fucking things. This is how businesses and corporations work. This is what CEOs do. You shoot this CEO, they're just gonna find another fucking CEO. Okay, no CEO is gonna go, guys, we need to accept more claims. We need to be more hospitable to the world, and we need to save more lives. No, this is not what CEOs do. They're all pieces of shit. There's very few. I mean, yeah, you've got a Costco CEO that's like, we're keeping the hot dog price at $1.50. I don't care if we lose money. I will shoot you if you fucking change the price of the hot dog from $1.50 or whatever. Because whatever reason, that guy's either a really nice guy or he thinks he's doing the right thing or what. Like, there's some rarities like that, but a majority of CEOs are just trying to make money. And that's what CEOs do. That's what corporations do. The problem is the fucking government has made this legal somehow. It is legal to fuck people over for money over insurance, whether it's for cancer treatment, like you said, or my fucking car for $13,000. Somehow this is legal. That is the problem, that we've all just accepted this. And we've all said, well, this is and so if the Mangione thing, if it starts a conversation that people are going to say, it's just like what I was saying earlier with the junk fees that Biden was supposedly going to get on top of. I'm all for that. I'm all for not fucking people over. So I think there is a big problem. I don't think the solution is going to be to shoot CEOs. I don't think that's going to do anything. It's just now CEOs are going to hire security. And maybe is there a CEO that might be more cautious about fucking people over? I mean, maybe, it's like there's going to be some half-assed attempt. United's going to go, we've changed our policies now, and we're going to accept 28%. We're only going to deny 28% of claims instead of 30. Like, we did something. Yeah. I mean, no, you've got to make this shit illegal. These people are crooks. They're criminals. And I don't know. Is Luigi Mangione, is he a hero? Is he a villain? I don't know. I don't think killing people is right. I don't think the United CEO deserved to die. I think insurance companies are evil, but I don't think killing one CEO, and I feel bad for the guy. Cause I don't know. I think maybe the CEO is an evil guy. Maybe they're all evil. I don't know but I just don't think that's going to be the long-term solution. I think the long-term solution is to, we as a people, we outnumber the people in charge, and we need to demand that they change these laws so that this shit is not legal. And I think a lot of it comes down to the whole healthcare thing. That's a whole discussion. And I think I've become more liberal on that, because I used to say like, well, no, we don't want government healthcare, but maybe we do. I don't, maybe that is the solution. My buddy had a good point. He said, he thinks that health insurance companies should be nonprofit. That might be a good idea too. Again, they're probably still going to pay the CEO $200,000, like you were saying earlier with the charities. They're, CEOs make all this money. I don't know what the solution is, but I know there's corruption, and I don't think it should be legal. So
I don't remember the last time somebody who killed somebody was presented at this as the type of hero he's being presented. Women are flocking his court he's
hearings. A good-looking guy. Let's give him that.
He's a good-looking guy. He's a very good-looking guy.
That's what's interesting, because women are always about like 6 feet and 6 inches, or keep on walking, or whatever they say in the Tinder thing. So yeah, I don't know. And I don't think innocent people should die. If it makes CEOs,
me too. I want to make that clear. I don't either. I don't think he should have been killed.
CEOs think a little harder about making a decision and getting more money for the company versus fucking people over. That would be a good thing. But again, I think it's going to go back to, eventually they're going to have to start changing some of the laws on this. And especially if they could get bipartisan agreement on this, if a Republican and a Democrat could come together and say, hey, if you sell insurance, health insurance, you cannot deny people treatment for, I don't care how expensive the treatment is or whatever. Like if you gave them insurance, you got to follow through on that. I mean, they have enough money in the kitty. They got billions of dollars. They shouldn't be denying anybody anything. That's
And
fucking
then you
bullshit.
and then you look into the lobbying, though. The lobbying power of these companies is what
Exactly.
makes the law everything so corrupt.
Exactly.
It is tough, but I do think the ripples of this in our culture will be interesting, and we'll see how this plays out with the court case in the next few months. I don't remember the last time health insurance and corrupt health insurance was this prominent in the national discourse, as far as
Yeah.
when you turn on the news and everything. So that's
But
interesting.
imagine if Mangione, if he hadn't shot that guy and he didn't go to prison, because now he's going to go to prison. So unless like it'd be crazy if Biden like pardoned him or something.
Well, listen, I don't know how much
That would be
how much
crazy.
evidence they have on him. I
Okay.
mean, could you imagine if he's found not
Because
guilty?
yeah, because I think that he could have done more good for the world not in prison. If he could be, you know what? I'm going to dedicate my life to changing this health insurance scam, and I'm going to lobby. I'm going to be a lobbyist. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to raise money. And there's a Christian health insurance thing that it's a thing where just people donate to it, and then you can get health insurance if you're a Christian or something, and you join this health insurance. It's for free, and then you just donate. It's like kind of give what you can kind of thing.
Mhm.
I don't know how successful it is, but something like that, if people could create things like that. I mean, there's with social media and GoFundMe and all these things, like if we could do something else, like some sort of idea like that, I would rather do something like that and bankrupt these fucking insurance companies than just shoot a CEO and then they just replace him next week with some other douchebag. Like, let's
Yes.
do something to hurt them and where they were going to feel it the most in their wallet. It's like Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster?
Mhm.
Everyone's like nostalgic. Oh, Blockbuster. No, fuck Blockbuster. Those guys were so fucking greedy. They would charge you late fees if you were 5 minutes late. They would charge you if you didn't rewind the tape. Their prices were crazy, and they went bankrupt. And it's like, you know what? When hogs get fat, they get slaughtered. And Blockbuster
Mm.
got slaughtered, and I didn't feel bad for them at all. I was like, yes, fuck you, Blockbuster. I hate you. And so I hope that happens to insurance companies. I hope the insurance companies go broke because they're just greedy bastards. And I would love for someone else to come along with some sort of other system that works better, that people could go, oh, if one of these billionaire guys like a Musk or Bezos or one of these guys says, you know what, I'm just going to start a fund for health insurance and anybody can join it, and it's free and anybody could donate. And then that would be cool. Something like that.
Yeah.
I know it's probably never going to happen because if you're a billionaire, you gotta hang on to every $1 billion that you got. It's important, I guess. But that's what I would do if I had $1 billion. I would make some sort of fund like that and fuck over these insurance companies.
It's just been a weird year. You've got that. You've got 2 Trump assassinations. You've got drones that are flying as high as airplanes. I hear they're the size of cars.
Yeah.
You've just got you've got it's a weird time. This is all in the past 7 months, So
Yeah.
times are strange. You got to get
It
out of
is
here,
weird.
right?
Yeah, I do. I got to go to my girlfriend's Christmas thing. But yeah, my whole thing as I try to preach is like, try to make the world a better place and try not to hurt people by doing that. I think you try to do that by that's what I try to do. Entertain people, educate them, inspire them to make a positive difference in the world, but don't hurt people doing that. I think that
Yeah.
there's a way to do that without killing people or hurting people or fucking someone else over, because then if you do that, then you're just as bad as these people that are fucking other people over. Then now you're fucking someone over. And so I don't like that. I don't like that strategy. Maybe his heart was in the right place. I don't know. I don't know what his heart was thinking, but if it gets a conversation going, I would love to see a change on this, because I think everyone's fed up with this, Republican and Democrat. I don't think anybody thinks our insurance companies are doing a good job.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Cool. Well,
I do
thanks so
want
much
to
for doing this, man.
Oh, you're welcome. I wanted to, because you mentioned Christmas, I did want to provide a recommendation, my favorite piece of Christmas media right now.
Okay.
Okay. Fairy Tale of New York. If anybody's feeling lonely, down and out, anything like that, it's a song called Fairy Tale of New York. It's my favorite. It's fun to sing along. If you're feeling like lonely or whatever it is during the holidays, it'll cheer you up. It's a fun song to sing. Have you heard it?
No, but I will listen to it right after we
Oh,
hang up.
Fairy Tale of New York, my friend, written by a drunk Irishman. Just really, it's my favorite piece of Christmas media. So that's what I recommend. And
Okay.
and thank you, dude. I want to thank you for having me on the show. It's been too long. I think we should get together in a shorter span of time than as long as it's been. And Uh, listen, you went from 5 to 6,000 subscribers really fast. I think this year's for you. I think 2025 is for Chuck Shoot. I really believe that.
Yeah, I got some things I'm not ready to announce, but I think I have a strategy to grow my channel a lot faster because I got to go through like a back door. I don't think the way I'm going about this is it's too slow for me. So yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know when that stuff happens. And yeah, let's chat anytime. We could just do a Zoom just without being live if you want. I'm down with that too. So just keep me posted.
For sure. And I'll probably be in Arizona within the next few months as well. I'll definitely hit you up then too. I
Yeah,
loved it.
hit me up.
Carefree Arizona. I didn't
That's
expect
from the
to.
text.
Is that what they live?
Well, North
Like
Scottsdale, it's basically carefree. Yeah.
Cave Creek, Carefree. I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh my
I love
God.
that area. Yeah.
Loved
I
it.
love it too. That's where I want to move to. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, Merry Christmas and enjoy yours.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
I hope I
Everybody,
I hope I entertained you
I think it was entertaining. I
somehow.
have 18 people watching, but unless they're all bots, I don't know. Nobody's commenting, but thank you all for watching and listening. Everyone have a Merry Christmas or a Happy Hanukkah or a happy holiday or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate. Or just a
Merry
great day.
Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.
Okay. I'm ending the stream.